Sorry, I'm late. Don crimes, PC crimes. I never know what you go by these days. But yeah, I was at a Chinese restaurant actually, just chowing through my Peking duck. Unfortunately, though, the bill was massive.
Nice. I can actually see the atoms moving around in my fingers.
What you got for me today?
Today, I have the Grindr Killer.
Oh, perfect. Cook Street. Yeah. It looks like you collapsed your anesthesia or something. Or it's just drunk.
On the 19th of June, 2014, Stephen Port called the emergency services.
Ooh.
If you are familiar with the app Grindr, it's a little bit like Tinder. But anyway, this man goes by the name of Stephen Port. Born in 1975, operating in the UK, and...
Operating?
Yeah, I mean, like
The crimes were committed in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, it was an operation. It was
a serious operation.
Yes,
that's what
it was, because he did murder and sexually assault multiple men.
In fact, it was 4 different men. Now, this particular case is so tragic. We will go through it, run you through the details of it, but it is also extremely tragic because a lot of people believe that this particular case, or a lot of these victims, could have been prevented. They could have been stopped if the police had done their job properly.
Police just...
fumbled the bag big time.
As per, and also, this did happen quite recently, 2014 to 2015.
It's been in the news a lot lately as well, so you guys may have seen some stuff floating around about all this as there were some inquiries and things, but we're gonna get into that. So let's first talk about the victims. Let's talk a little bit about Stephen Port as well. Give me a bit of background on him, Chip.
Nice. Born in Essex, where our good friend Ethan Payne is from.
I don't know why we need to bring that up. I'm sure there's a lot of people from Essex.
I'm just thinking about YouTube algorithm.
Okay.
Anyway, he did go ahead and move to East London, which is where we live.
Where our studio is based.
Something is not adding up.
Look, there's
right
a lot
here.
of weird things that happen in East London, but this right here, this is one of the most tragic.
Yes. Well, anyway, he was described to be a loner and quite quiet.
Quite quiet.
Quite quiet. That's
fair enough.
That's got what I've got in front of me. Now, unfortunately, he was bullied at school, and at the age of 16, he decided to go to art college. But unfortunately, it was quite expensive, and he couldn't afford it. So he started to train as a chef, and he actually made a brief appearance on the hit TV show MasterChef.
I always find it so interesting how we've had a few of these cases where they end up. Remember, we had the dating game killer?
Yeah, he was on a game show.
He was on a game show. We've had now this person on MasterChef.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wonder if there have been anyone that's been on a show recently and we've watched them. Maybe we've even supported them and they're going to become a...
Could be a YouTuber.
Okay, that would be really freaky. Has that ever happened? That probably has happened. Maybe we need to do a case on a YouTuber turned killer.
Oh, that would bang algorithm. You're thinking about it, and I love it.
Now, in his mid-20s, Stephen Port came out as gay, right? And from there, he started using dating apps. And this is where the Grindr Killer comes into play, because he would use these dating apps to meet gay, bisexual men. And from there, he would go ahead and use something called GHB, right? Which is essentially the date drug. Mm-hmm. And he would use that on them, take them back, sexually assault them, right, without going into too much graphic detail. And there were definitely quite a few cases, but in 4 of these cases, the men were actually murdered. So he used this app to find his victims. Mm-hmm. From there, drug them, and then in 4 particular cases, kill them as well.
A sick and twisted individual.
Indeed. I hope you guys are enjoying the case so far, but in order to keep this massive lantern on, we have got an ad for you guys. Now, this is from our good friends over at Babble.
We love them.
We do.
We love Babble.
Because you know what they do, guys? They help you learn a new language, right? You got a bit of time to yourself? Christmas is coming up. You know what you fancy? You don't want to talk to the family because they've done your head in. Right? So instead, you can spend a bit of time learning a new language. Now, Babble is an app that you can go ahead and you can download and you can pick from a wide variety of different languages to learn. The best thing about Babble, right, is that a lot of these other apps, they'll go and just use AI and they'll cheat their way around it. But Babble actually have had language experts, over 100 language experts, so that's real people, right? And they actually put together these entire courses for you guys to learn. So it's not just robots, right? These are genuine people with extreme language knowledge. Ain't that right, Chip? How extreme?
Very.
Babble's teaching method has actually been scientifically proven to be effective across multiple studies, okay? Now, like I mentioned, guys, you can get this as an app. You can also get it on your desktop, so online, that type of thing. And the most important thing is, no matter, let's say you're on your desktop and then you're on your way into work, for example, it will track your progress across your account so that you don't have to worry about finding, like, oh crap, where was I in this particular course? Now, there's 14 different languages you can choose from, including Spanish, French, Italian, and German. And not only that, but one of the funniest things is when you hear people learn a new language, but they haven't quite got the speech nailed.
No.
Right? But Babble is here to help you with that because their speech recognition technology helps to improve your pronunciation and accent. I feel like you could do with that, but for English.
My accent is fantastic.
But what about your pronunciation?
My pronunciation is exquisite.
Wow, that's phenomenal. Did you use the Babble app for English?
No.
Anyways, guys, if this is of interest to you, then you can go ahead and check out Babble right now. It's actually offering everybody listening to this or watching, right, a 6-month free with a purchase of 6-month subscription using the promo code MYSTERIES. So make sure you go to uk.babble.com/play, use the promo code MYSTERIES for an extra 6 months free. Make sure you check that out at uk.babble.com/plays, code
Mysteries. So we have our first victim, okay? Anthony Walgate, aged 23, a fashion student from Hull.
I'll be honest, I didn't know that they existed. I've never heard of fashion come out of Hull. Not that that's got anything to do with
Hull
this.
is a beautiful place. Now, Anthony occasionally worked as an escort, and Port got in contact with him and offered him £800 for his services. Obviously, they've agreed. Port has gone back to his flat with him, and then he has raped Anthony. Anthony then goes on to overdose off the date drug.
Right.
Boom.
So he used it on him, took him back to his flat, him, and then what happened after that, Chip?
The next morning, Port has dragged the body outside onto the pavement. He's called up the ambulance and pretended that he's come across a man that's having a seizure. He's passed out drunk.
Didn't say he was dead. Didn't make it seem like he'd been killed or anything.
Yeah,
he
pretended he'd literally just walked past this guy and he's found his body on the floor.
What's the address of the emergency?
Cook Street. There's a young boy who had his caps outside. I don't know.
Outside of which number?
4758.
Sorry?
4758, I think. It looks like he's collapsed or had a seizure or something.
Where was it that they were outside of?
Cook Street.
What door number?
I don't know, I didn't look.
You said 47 before.
Yeah, so that's yeah, what's 47? Yeah.
Do you think that they had a seizure, is that correct?
It's lying on the floor. Yeah. Yeah.
So were you passing by in your car?
Yes.
Okay, and you've drove past now, so you're no longer there.
That's right.
So the guy literally just tried to cover all the bases there, like not really too sure. I guess to be fair, if you saw someone that looked, well, we know he's dead, but if you just seen someone passed out, I would imagine he was in his normal clothes. I'm not too sure, but you saw that on the side of the road. I guess that is how you would respond to it.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah, you wouldn't assume he's dead unless maybe you put your fingers to the neck, check the pulse.
Oh right, okay.
You were looking well suspicious.
I didn't know where you were going with that.
Listen,
one, boss.
I did a first aid course.
Yeah.
Although Anthony's mother described the police's investigation into it as quite brief. The phone call that she got was, she referred to it as like it was a discussion about a lost pet.
Could you imagine that? You've just lost your child and it's almost as if the police just really aren't that arsed about the whole thing.
And I rang Barking and Dagenham police, and the first initial contact was Anthony had been found dead in the street. So I said, well, was he shot? Was he stabbed? Had he been beaten up? We don't know. Found him dead in the street. He hasn't been beaten up, he hasn't been stabbed, he hasn't been shot, anything. Something's not right. Where's his phone? Why don't you track his phone? No, it's too expensive.
For the police to really not care or seem to have put much effort into finding the killer. Well, at this time, they don't even know if it is a killer, but it just seemed so nonchalant about it.
Yes, well, the actual police officer that she spoke to said they described Anthony's death as not suspicious at the moment. So they didn't believe anything, you know, no foul play or anything like that.
They just, well, but surely, the police look at it, they do the autopsy, and they see that he overdosed from
GHB, date rape drug. You're going to find out the body, and you're going to think, well, he's not purposely taken this, right?
Yeah. Victim number 2 was 22 years old, and he went by the name Gabriel Kovari. Now, Gabriel moved from Slovakia to London to work as a translator. Now, here's the bit that is, I guess, a shame, but he unfortunately became Stephen Port's flatmate, right? And literally days later, after becoming his flatmate, he was found dead.
Not ideal.
Victim number 3, Daniel Whitworth. Now, he was 21. As you can tell, these are all young males, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're all using Grindr.
Yeah, so I guess
Just
they would
maybe
be around the
looking
same
for-
age if they wanted to date,
Yeah.
whatever. Now, this Daniel was from Kent, and he also worked as a chef.
Cool, so
right?
they had something in common.
Yeah, so, you know, that might have been a reason for them to go on a date in the first place or whatever, or maybe a reason Daniel was interested, who knows. And Daniel was actually found in the exact same spot that Kovari was found. Now, Kovari was victim number 2 that I mentioned that came over from Slovakia, And this time, though, on Daniel's body, there was a suicide note, right? On this suicide note, it said, "I've killed myself because the guilt is living within me from killing Kovari." So it was a murder-suicide. That's the way he made it seem, right? But that actual note was written by Stephen Port himself. So Stephen Port had set this whole thing up to make it seem like Daniel had killed that Kovari person and then just suffered from so much guilt, he's killed himself and he put himself in the same spot, right? And this was actually in a graveyard.
I feel like that's
which is
so
pretty
kinda-
dark.
Yeah, it is dark, and I feel like it's always, that is so risky. Surely you think, right, they're gonna examine this handwriting, and obviously it's not gonna match up.
Yeah, I mean, that would be
Like-
the first thing you would do, right, in a note, is just double check. Right, let's just double check that this suicide note is of the person that wrote it.
Yeah.
Now, they did actually ask the family, hey, could you have a look at this handwriting? Does this look like them? Fair enough. And the family said they were unsure of it, okay?
So maybe he replicated it well or something.
Maybe, but even if they're unsure of it, surely at that point that they've not got an answer there. They should then have taken it to a professional, to a specialist. And I'm sure if a professional looks at the two, I'd like to think the professional know what they're doing and they would have been able to tell the difference, right? Now, on that particular suicide note that was written by Stephen, but made to look like it was written by Daniel, it said this: "By the way, please do not blame the guy I was with last night." Right? Now, the guy who was with last night was obviously Stephen Port, wasn't it? He went on the date with him.
What a strange thing to say.
Why? It's
Why
almost
is
like
he-
he's dobbing
like,
himself
yeah,
in a
like,
bit.
he's like, oh yeah, don't blame that guy. Oh, look at me, Stephen Port.
Yeah,
look-
don't blame Stephen Port.
Don't
Like,
look into me, guys.
Nobody was blaming you to begin
Yeah.
with, mate. You'd gotten away with it this whole time. What a weird thing to put. It almost makes you seem 10 times more
Yeah.
guilty.
Yeah, he's either really, really stupid or he's playing with them.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't even say that's playing with them because it's just a stupid thing to say.
Exactly. Now, since there was a reference to homicide in this, the Scotland Yard, they had to put together an investigation team to take a look at this. But this investigative team, right, never really, they came into play, but they never actually did anything. In fact, the whole thing just stayed within the local police officers. So when there's a proper murder on the cards, right, it essentially gets escalated here in the UK, but it never really happened and it just stayed amongst the police officers that were working on the case to begin with. So did the police just not
make
give
sense.
a crap about this? Like,
Yeah.
what a weird way of doing things. Why not escalate it?
Fourth victim, Jack Taylor, age 25 and a forklift truck driver, and he was found in a graveyard, in fact, the exact same graveyard, in September 2015. And this graveyard is, well, it's a graveyard of a church in Barking.
Just down the road, as we mentioned. What's interesting here, right, is 3 of the victims have been found in that graveyard. 2 of the victims number 2 and 3 that we mentioned, were found by the same woman, right? And
that is very unfortunate.
Three in one graveyard, right? Now, look, I'm not part of the police, but if I'm finding 3 murders all in the graveyard, 3 gay men, right? You would think maybe there's some sort of connection here.
Even by the second one, you should have been thinking, right,
let's have a look into this.
CCTV camera, something, set something up.
Yeah,
It's gotta be
absolutely.
something.
Now, there were some people online. In fact, there was a website called Pink News, right? Pink News was the name of the website. And the LGBT community in general were insistent to tell the police, look, there is a link here. So it wasn't like they weren't getting maybe any help or any tips or anything. People were genuinely telling them, no, you seriously have to look into this. There is something linking these murders. The police did sweet F all.
As per. Now, Kavari's ex-roommate was looking online and found a link between the cases. You know, he's investigating the deaths, doing a bit of his own work, and he actually gets in contact with the detective and asks, you know, is something going on here? Are these cases linked? And the police have assured him that there's nothing like that going on. He asked if there was a murderer on the loose. They assured him there's no murderer on the loose.
That is just so crazy to me. The fact that they hadn't even ruled that out at this point,
guy
and they were telling him no.
Officer. He's not even a police officer. He's probably got his own different job doing a thing. He's gone on the internet, figured out this link for himself, and he's gone, yeah, you know what? This is looking suspicious. Something's not adding up. And the police themselves, it's actually their job, and they have not done that.
I met Gabriel online. He had a profile on a kind of gay social networking / dating site. And because I had this spare room, I agreed to meet him. I know he went and met one guy via, a dating app. I regret not having asked more questions about where he was going, who he was going to stay with.
Now, the ex-roommate's boyfriend, I hope you guys are following along here, I'm just about hanging on, right? He actually got in contact with a Facebook user who went by the name John Luck, right? Now, John Luck seemed to have important information on things like where the victims were drugged and exploited, and just quite a lot of info that clearly wasn't out there yet, as the ex-roommate's boyfriend should have done, which he did, was send this information across to the police. Send it to the police, and they said, look, have a look into this account. They've got information that I think will be useful. Take a look into it. And what did they do, Chip?
You tell me.
Nothing. Obviously, they did absolutely nothing. And guess what? That account, John Luck, on Facebook, turned out to be the killer Stephen Port. It was him all along on that account. Now, I don't know exactly how this works, but I would like to think that if the police really did sort of suspect something with the account, they could have approached Facebook, asked for his IP address or something, get his location. Where does this guy live? We need to go and speak to him privately. It would have led them back to Stephen Port. And guess what? Stephen lives so close to where all of these things were happening.
Yeah.
So,
and you know what? Stephen Port probably would have given something away anyway, even just in a normal conversation, because he seems stupid enough to...
Yeah, he doesn't...
Like
he's
earlier,
not super intelligent. Like, he's dragging the body onto the pavement to put it there.
Yeah.
He's then the one that calls the police. Nobody's questioning this guy. Like, there just seems to be a lot of things pointing to him and ways that the police just missed out on catching this guy time after time.
The police failings did continue because, Kavari's family actually had a family liaison officer, the person that handles, talking to the family, all that kind of stuff, and they actually made zero effort to get in touch with the family.
So what, they didn't even... someone in their families died, and this family liaison officer didn't liaise.
Yeah, at all. No effort. Anyway, they even got something wrong in the report and said that Kavari was from Lithuania instead of Slovakia. Like, that's just disrespectful, to be honest.
Well, it's almost as if nobody cared about this case.
Yeah, and like, how can you get the country wrong?
Detective Inspector also failed to do his job properly, and not only just failed to do it properly, but also, he just made it 10 times worse. You guys will see what I'm talking about here, right? So he would just sign off and say things had been done in the investigation when they hadn't been done. For example, one of the things was they were to go and check the phone records of Daniel, see who he'd been talking to, things like that. And they didn't actually go and check up on that.
Wow.
But guess what? He signed off. He said, "Yeah, we're taking a look at it."
That is such a that's like one of the first things that you go and do. Let's check who's been talking to on the phone. It's pretty obvious. He's been on a Grindr date. He's probably spoke to the bloke on the phone.
Yeah.
Bang.
Well, you're onto something. You have someone to question, but he didn't even bother with that. Next thing he did was he also lied to the coroner as well.
Damn.
He said that they actually matched the suicide letter to diaries that he had written, but the police never seized any diaries to match it to. So that's just another complete lie.
These are fireable. This guy needs, if he's not been fired, then he bloody well should be.
Yeah. And before the pathologist report was even sent to him, he actually went and he said himself, right, the investigation is complete and the report can now be closed. And that's before he got the pathologist report. He just closed in the thing. It is quite clear, right, that the police just weren't arsed about this at all.
Yeah, like it doesn't seem like he cares about this case. Like he's ready to get rid of it, onto the next. He's not taking it seriously.
Yeah.
When the police had insinuated to Jack Taylor's sister that he had died from an overdose, they actually didn't believe it.
They weren't having it.
They weren't having it because Jack Taylor, they said he was very anti-drug, so it didn't really make any sense. So like what I spoke about earlier with Kavari's
ex-roommate.
Yeah, they actually went online and found 3 similar cases. They were thinking, does this add up? They said to the police, are they linked? Please come back. No. Yeah.
2 weeks after Jack Taylor's death, the police actually went and showed the sisters CCTV footage of Taylor walking into this graveyard with someone, who is obviously Stephen Port, right? And the sisters then said, right, can we please release this CCTV footage out into the public? There might be someone out there that knows who that man is.
Yeah.
And the police were really reluctant to do it. For whatever reason, they didn't want to release the footage. But fortunately, and so thankfully, they persisted and they said, please put it out there, please put it out there. And they did. And literally, guys, I'm not joking, 2 days later, Port was found, he was captured, all because they put out the CCTV. Could you imagine if the sister had never even bothered and just went, oh, you're not going to put it out? Oh, okay, fair enough, and just left it at that.
Yeah.
If they didn't lobby them to put it out,
Stephen Port could still be walking around to this day. There could be more murders on the police's hands. It was actually all down to the sisters.
Yeah, and the sisters said that the police just didn't look into anything, and that they allowed that man to take 3 innocent people's lives. Mad.
Yeah, because it's understandable. You can't stop the first one, but if you start putting 2 and 2 together, you can stop the next
If you
ones.
put a bit of effort into the first one, the other ones may never have happened, and that is just, mate, it was mental, right? Anyways, guys, we do have some slightly good news, I suppose, and that is about the conviction. Obviously, he was caught on CCTV. Now, Port did end up getting charged 4 counts of murder, 4 counts of administering poison as well. Oof. June 2016, 6 more counts were actually added of administering poison, 7 charges of rape, and 4 of sexual assault. Now, Stephen Port actually denied all of those charges. Look, maybe you're right. Maybe this guy wasn't very smart.
No.
Because they literally have the footage of it. But most importantly, in November 2016, so a few months down the line, he was convicted of the assault and the 4 murders, as well as the 3 other men that he had drugged, which was 10 counts of administering a substance with intent and 4 sexual assaults, guilty on all of the accounts. So, if there is a bit of good news, it's that the police didn't mess up the conviction side of this case.
They got him. This guy wouldn't have stopped, by the way. It sounds like he was on a bit of a rampage.
He was, man. And, it's just so sad that it took the sisters of the families to push for the CCTV to come out, because let's be honest, they weren't arsed about this. And it really started a massive sort of inquiry into the police force, and a lot of people were asking questions about, are the police force homophobic? Was this not looked into because he was killing gay men, right? And so they were like, oh, we don't care because he's killing gay men. Was that the case? And it got so much news attention. You know, let's say, for example, had these 4 victims been women, would this have been way bigger news? Would the police have taken it more seriously? All this sort of stuff. Now, off the back of that, as I mentioned, the news was rolling. So much stuff has happened since, and it's been in the news recently as well. In fact, 7 of the 17 police officers that should have faced disciplinary action ended up getting a promotion. That's how twisted that is. Now, in July 2020, they announced that there would be a fresh inquiry starting in January 2021 to examine all 4 deaths and, more importantly, probe into the police failings revolving around this case. Now, just recently gone, literally a week before we'd done this, it actually came out that they believe, the jurors said that there is good reason to believe that police failings definitely played some sort of factor in the deaths of 4 of these men. And the absolute latest thing from this is the fact that Sadiq Khan has since ordered an independent review of the Met Police. So that's where we're at, Chip. That's where we're at. What do you reckon here, mate? What is it? I mean, there's not much to reckon. It is just, could you imagine, right? This is the crazy part, right? Is if you had died, right, and the police just did sweet F all about it. You've been killed. Yeah. Right? Could you imagine
it's
that?
It's bad for the families. The families have had to deal with all this police
negligence, corruption, whatever you want to call it, right? It's sad that this has happened, but the good news is that he is behind bars now. He has his life sentence, and hopefully this guy doesn't get out, because I don't think he should.
No.
To be perfectly honest with you. Anyways, guys, if you did enjoy this episode, then be sure to go ahead and hit the follow button over on Spotify. If you're watching this on YouTube, then please do hit the subscribe button. Let us know your thoughts. Why do you think the police didn't care at all about this case, right? And why do you think they were just so bad at their job? All right, that's the truth. Anyways, we will catch you guys on the next case. You won't believe it, mate. There I am in the Chinese, absolutely scranning down a massive dish of Peking duck. I forgot the punchline.
Anyway, by his mid-20s, he did come out.
I don't know why. I don't know why. I'm just like Stephen Port came out.
I'm laughing. I can't.
Stephen Port came out in his mid-20s. I got this.
No. I have to deliver this line just to fulfill my destiny. What was it again? Stephen Port
came out in his mid-20s. You could even add,
because we need to say and then Stephen Port came out in his mid-20s. Yeah. And then, sorry man, you made me laugh and I'm stuck in that giggle mode. Stop it. I can see it in your face.
Bro, I'm not even. I'm going to have to do this.
You're going to have to, wait, okay. one more try, okay, bro, one more try. And then Stephen Port came.
This is nuts, by the way.
You're going to get cancelled. I'm not laughing at that. It's just the fact that you've got me laughing. I can't now deliver the line in a normal way.
In his mid-20s, Stephen Port came out.
You're going to have to go again because I was doing that.
You don't even have to say anything.
I was doing Thierry Henry.